Matt, thanks for taking the time to speak with me. It is a pleasure. Overall, at the moment, how's the vibe in the Harroway camp?
It's really good. I would say it's the best it's ever been, honestly.
Mm.
We're super stoked on how Heresy has been received. We're like, obviously, we're just on the tail end of our tour with supporting Sienna Skies. The reception we've been getting at shows have been incredible. A lot of mic grabs and like the crowd singing along, which has been a really cool experience for us because we didn't really have that as much before. Like
Mm.
we've always had people coming out to shows for us and knowing the words, but like being able to hear them over the top of like music, like out the boys playing their fucking instruments and shit like that it's something else. And just you could tell from like the get-go that they were like itching to start moving. The moment we hit play and Origin came on, like you just see the crowd start, like those people who were there for us start getting rowdy, and it's very cool to see.
You sound, excuse me, you sound almost surprised.
Well, I think it's just like, I think I'm just surprised that anyone likes and listens to the fucking songs that we wrote in our little rooms and shit. Like, it's just like that the lyrics that I write actually mean something to people. It's like, it's still like, I think I'll be surprised until like, Harroway calls it a day. It'll like, it'll blow my mind forever that I can write something that actually like impacts people and like makes them feel something.
Is this, do you think, the disconnect, right, that exists in life, in the musical world, between you seeing, say, your statistics on Spotify and online, but then actually translating that to a live environment? The two are polar opposites.
Oh, that's just different. Like it's like seeing, we're over like I think we're at like 21,000 monthly listeners or something
Mm.
right now, and like that's a stadium, that's an arena of people.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's no way we could ever play an arena right now. Um, and I think I've learned that over the years that your numbers aren't always going to reflect how many people come out to shows, but we've been fortunate in the sense that we haven't really played bad shows as far as turnout goes. Like, don't get me wrong, back in older bands and all those kind of things, played to like 8 people in a 300 cap room.
Yeah.
I know what those shows feel like, but we've been fortunate in Harroway to have never had to play that situation. We've always been playing to people, which I feel like really fortunate about, and I'm very, very thankful for.
Absolutely. I hear from the way you're talking that you're not taking it for granted because you have these shows across the state, Australia with Sienna Skies. The new single Heresy is doing exceptionally well. It is a hot period for Harroway. How have you though, right, been able to enjoy this success?
Oh, it's that whole thing of like a tortured artist. It's like we are, but like for me personally, I'm so used to, because we're very much a DIY band. Like we do a lot
Mm.
of our stuff. I manage, book, I do PR as well as Ophelia, but I do a big lot on my end as well. And going on this tour has been weird because it's like we weren't the opening band, we weren't the headlining band. I wasn't the one running the show, so I was
Mm.
like almost stressed out, being like, what do I do with myself? Like, what am I doing? Like, yeah, it was a real weird moment for me. Like the moment we get on stage, I enjoy every single minute of it. But it's yeah, it's hard for me to, you know, sit back and smell the roses and like reflect upon like what we have actually accomplished in the short time that we have been a band.
It is incredible what you've done in that short time, really. And I have to ask, even though you've got all these stresses and you've got all these examples of what forces you to stay grounded, how easy is it though to stay grounded when you do compare where you sit right now to say 2019?
Oh, it's weird because it's like it's that thing of always wanting more. You
Mm.
get something and you always want more. It's I know, and I was speaking to Jordan, the bassist of Harroway, the other day because me and him have been in bands for years. Like me and him are like I think since we were like 20, we've been in bands together. Um, and I was like, me 10 years ago would have killed to be in this position. Like this is all I ever dreamed of back then. And
Mm.
then like once you're living it and like, you know, in the moment, I'm like, it doesn't hit the same. And whether that's just, you know, becoming like getting older and, you know, uh, being less naive about what it takes to actually and the investment and sacrifice that it actually takes to get there. Um, but I've tried to like I'm really trying to make a conscious effort to um like appreciate just how far we've come and like that a younger me would have loved to be in this position. Um so it definitely helps me not like remembering that helps me not take any of this for granted.
Do you think it's kind of like when you're younger, the disconnect between the rock star dream and the reality of the industry slash business now, where ultimately you do it for love and you want to pack out the buildings and have people singing and enjoying the music, but that doesn't necessarily translate to money that then helps you to continue and grow bigger.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a like I think this would be the same with every definitely Australian metalcore
Mm.
band that was like had started younger and was like, yeah, I'm going to be a rock star. Like this is what's going to happen. I'm going to do everything. You have all this energy and all this enthusiasm, but you have no idea where to put it to and like how to like, you know, how do you promote a song? How do you promote the band? How do you even get on a show? Um, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then you know, having lived that experience and as a young musician coming up and learning everything that I needed to know, and I'm still learning now.
Mm.
Musicians have to adapt to the times, and you know, streaming services weren't a thing when I first started in music, and now they are. They're the biggest player. Um, and even now they're still changing. Like this with Heresy, they um I'm pretty sure something happened with Spotify and they fired all the curators and replaced them with an AI person. And
Yeah.
it's like that completely fucked every small band's release because none of the small like that the AI is still learning how to curate properly. So it's being fed all the bigger bands to so it knows what it's looking for, but it's not that's not going to benefit any of the smaller bands who aren't on labels and don't have that connection, that direct contact to Spotify to message them and let them know that just dropped a song and need to really need to be on a Spotify curated playlist. So, yeah. Sorry, I completely rambled and forgot what the actual question was.
Mate, I love it. I love it. I like a natural conversation where you're basically just letting your thoughts flow out. Because ultimately, with the whole Spotify thing and aspects like that, and the streaming side of things, you are banging your head against a brick wall. Any success, any playlist, any notice that people can give you is important, particularly as you say from an Australian perspective. But what I find always quite interesting is when I look at a history, so looking at the history of Harroway and sort of seeing how you barely got started and then boom, it was effectively COVID and lockdown and those sort of periods. Obviously in Australia, it was quite harsh, in particular what you were able to and couldn't do. I particularly am interested in the fact that you survived that period as a band. What effect did the COVID lockdown period have on Harroway, and were you able to turn it into to your advantage?
Yeah, I think we were one of the few. I think COVID is probably one of the reasons for our success, like the reason we are so successful, because we were one of those bands who used that time to knuckle down and like actually grow while everyone was just sitting at home. We were fortunate enough to already have a body of music recorded that hadn't been released yet, music videos ready to go and everything like that. So once COVID hit, we could progressively drop the mixtape, Bloom in a Dark Room, right up until COVID lockdown stopped, and we could play our first headlining show after having only played one show, and then sell out our first headliner, which was insane for us at the time, because we were just like, again, so shocked that anyone gave a fuck.
It's
But yeah,
incredible you were able to use that like that. Any benefit you can take from an incredibly negative period is always worth talking about. But do you, and this might be impossible to answer because ultimately you've kind of got to look at alternative life almost. Do you think, right, Harroway would exist as it does now, if that period hadn't happened?
I don't think so, because so during that period we lost a lot of the original members that Harroway started with. It got stripped back down to me and Jordan, and then we started recruiting again and found a new drummer, found a new guitarist, started, and like in that period worked on writing Sleep, which was our first single post Bloom in a Dark Room. So I don't think that we would be where I think we would be significantly worse if COVID didn't happen, because it really just weeded out, the members that, maybe didn't see the big picture that we saw, or didn't have the same commitment levels, just, wanted something different from life. And yeah, it definitely changed everything for Harroway.
Yeah, here you sit. And as you said yourself, Harroway means a hell of a lot to a lot of people. Have you been able to put your finger on what is making Harroway so appealing to so many people around the world?
I think I would like to think it is the rawness of the lyrics and the vocals, just because I do put a lot of myself into the words that are being written. I will pretty much always write it about some kind of experience that I have, or some kind of mental state that I'm going through. And I really fucking mean that shit when I'm in the booth recording it. I really fucking mean that shit when I'm screaming live. I feel like that translates through as well. I feel like the audience knows I fucking mean it. I'm not just writing these songs because that's what the genre calls for or whatever. Like, I mean these words. I mean, it helps to, have good songs to write too, like good music and riffs and everything and good strong song structures. Um, and I think it's just we're a bit angrier than, your standard metalcore. I think we're in a very pissed off time. The cost of living is way too fucking high.
Mm.
Everyone's struggling. Everyone's mental states in the shit. Like, people don't want to hear about, you know, how rich some like pop artist is or whatever, like someone in their flashy Lamborghini or something like that. Like, the world's pissed off. Like,
Yes.
I don't know too many people who are like having a good time. Like, obviously, we all have families. We all like it. There's always people we love in our lives that make it worth living and everything like that. But everyone I know is struggling to just get by. So I think that is probably another key thing of why this song, like Heresy in particular, is starting to get picked up a lot by a lot of people.
I asked you that question because I had my own answer as well, and I kind of want to see how much it matched up because obviously I can't speak for the world or other people, but you try and pay attention to some comments online, reviews, and get the vibe of what people are thinking. And I also think a major part of your appeal does seem to come from the level of relatable honesty that you have looking at Heresy, for example. But from a personal point of view, you specifically, how important is it for you to have people see you and hear you as a human being with your own vulnerabilities?
Well, I think that's the whole purpose of being an artist is to like put yourself on display at your most vulnerable.
Mm.
Because you know, as much as I'm creating this for me, I'm creating it for everyone else who is in that same position, that same mindset, like to let them know that they're not alone. Like I'm going through it too. Like we're all like there's someone else out there that's going through the exact same shit that you're going through, and we just got to keep pushing on. And we will get stronger. We
Mm.
will learn how to deal with it, and it will make life easier because we will grow from these hard experiences.
Well put, and you referenced everyone being pissed off in some way or another about the state of the world, whatever it might be. Open your window, there's some new crap to depress you. But perhaps, as you say, rather than let it consume, go to a Harroway show, let off some steam with you
100%.
guys.
Get in that wall of death.
Have you always been able to open up the way you do, or is it something that's getting easier as you get older?
It's definitely something that's getting easier as I get older. I would only open up in lyrics. I wouldn't really talk to people about my emotional or mental state when I was younger because I didn't want to be a burden to anyone else. I now realize that is not the case. I had been going to therapy for like 5 years or something like that.
Mm.
And, having that person to kind of bounce my thoughts off of and just be 100% open with has been game changing because, you know, sometimes you just need to be heard. You
Yeah.
just need someone to listen to you without any kind of uh, without them trying to make it about themselves somehow. And you know, we all know those people when you go to a friend and they mean well, but it just sounds like they're waiting for their opportunity to speak and tell you about what's going on in their life rather than actually listening.
Mm.
Whereas, you're paying a therapist or a counselor or a psychologist or to actually listen. And it's kind of fucked up that you need to pay someone to listen to you. But I mean, there's also the darker side of that, and that's trauma bombing, and you're just dumping your emotional load on someone, and that takes a toll too. So it's a hard thing to navigate, talking to people and being open.
Yeah.
But having gone through what I've gone through and put in the work to try and better myself, I have found it a lot easier to be more open in my lyrics and more honest and more raw. And this next EP, we're talking about some dark topics in all the boys' lives, and it's it's kind of cathartic to be able to be so open.
You do that and you get yourself in a headspace to reflect, to talk about, to play and sing about these dark topics. How do you then step back away from that and say, okay, cool, song done, gonna play that live, looking forward to doing that and so on, but I've also got to move on mentally, momentarily?
I think it gets easier with time. The more you do it, obviously, when we write these songs, and then the first few times you play them, like, they're gonna hit a lot harder to you. But as you progress, you learn to separate the emotions from that are within the song and within your live set, and then bring yourself back to earth. But there's definitely been moments where it's triggered something in my brain, like, where I'm not, like, I'm just not in a good place after the show. Like, it's just a part of being human, I think.
Yeah. Well put. I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong though, when say you are doing a song like that on stage, and you look out and you're looking at the faces and you're hearing the voices, does that help?
Yeah, it somewhat it somewhat breaks my character, my persona on stage sometimes, because I'm like, I have cultivated this very angry, aggressive person while we're performing.
Mm.
And then hearing people, like, and like watching them sing the words back at me and all that kind of stuff, I can't help but smile. Like, it's like, fuck, it just breaks that whole aggressive psychopath, like, image that I've built, because I just can't help but smile at the fact that these people are singing these words back at me. Yeah,
It's awesome. It's awesome though, right? Because ultimately, you do still want to be approachable, right? Like you want somebody to come up to you after the show and say, "Hey, that meant a lot to me, and thank you for doing that," and so on.
100%. Like, the whole, like, I'm so appreciative that people come out to shows and listen to our music and, like, give us like a 30 minutes of their day to just watch us perform music. And being so aggressive on stage, I do get concerned that people won't come up to me at the merch desk, because they think I'm gonna be that person thingy. But I'm, like, super nice, real approachable. And the whole reason I kind of had to cultivate um, that persona on stage is because I was going from mid song being really aggressive, really in your face, to so to in between songs being like, "Hey guys, thank you so much for coming out." Like, it was just so jarring, the two shifts in my personality. I was going aggressive, nice, aggressive, nice, aggressive, nice, aggressive, nice. So it was like, the boys are like, "You've just got to be aggressive. You've just got to flick the switch, leave it on, flick it off after, let them come up to you at the merch desk, and then you can show them how nice of a person you are and that you are so appreciative of them all being here. So I was like, yeah. And our live performance has changed so much since that, like making that switch, which has been like really cool. But yeah, I do get concerned that people won't come up. And if you're one of those people and you're listening to this, please come up and talk to me. I'm very nice, I promise.
Some of the scariest artists in rock and metal, at least on stage, are some of the most approachable. You look at Corpse Grinder and Cannibal Corpse. You know, like it's you just got to be brave enough to go get over that first step. And how you are on stage doesn't reflect who you are as a person per se. It's just yeah, it's just part and parcel of it. Um, Okay, let's talk about the future. In particular, 2024, the rest of it into 2025. I'm not going to ask you to list or tell me specifically what you're going on, because of course that's all available on your social media. You just need to follow there and pay attention and elements like that. What I guess I want to know is the plan to be as busy as humanly possible.
Uh, right now, no.
Mm,
We would love to. We don't really have anything booked for the tail end of the year. I'm getting married in November, so
big
we
deal.
did get we did get offered a Japan run, which we were really hoping we could do, but the dates just didn't work out for us. Um, but we're hoping to uh, reorganize with the promoter to get over to Japan and hopefully tack on the rest of Asia as well for
Mm,
2025. But no, we're in the process of recording our sophomore EP right now. So once we finish up in Perth with Sienna, I'll head back into the studio to start tracking vocals. And yeah, that'll basically be our focus for this year, I think. Oh. Just getting that EP ready, and then we'll see what shows and tour opportunities come up. Um, I think we're trying to be a bit more selective now, so
yeah,
that we don't over tour, because Australia is such a small touring market that you don't, like, you can only play really 4 major cities, and then you know you're done for a few months until you played those cities again.
yeah.
So we're definitely gonna just hang back and wait for the right opportunities to come, and then just focus on making the best EP that we can possibly make.
Ultimately, it's great to hear you got stuff going on. You got the new EP planned, and any particular shows that do come up that you're able that you do decide to do. And of course, and congratulations on your upcoming wedding as well. Incredibly stressful period of time. I've done it myself, so I know, but also wonderful. So great to hear. And I'm glad you kind of brought up the Australian scene, because ultimately I pay a lot of attention to that scene. It is immense. Some incredible young, hungry bands there, but it's also quite insular. And getting out and further afield can be a very difficult task for many. So, how do you plan to break through that barrier?
Just make the best music we possibly can, market it to as many people as we can possibly get to, and just do what we've been doing. Do it all
Yeah.
on your own. Like, as much as now we're in a position where we're a bit more at the whims of Destroyer Alliance and other promoters like that, where we are kind of need to start getting those bigger opportunities.
Mhm.
Um, we started this thing DIY. Like, all the tours that we had basically been on were all tours that I booked and like shows that I put on myself. Like, you just, if that's the case, that once we get ready to start recording this EP, and we haven't been offered anything by Destroyer Alliance or Live Nation or any of the bigger companies that have like potential opportunities for us, then it is what it is, and we'll go back to grinding and putting on our own tours, putting on our own shows, and growing our fan base that way. But yeah, it's just we're just going to keep grinding. It's all we've ever known. So
there it is. And let's be honest, man, it's clearly working. As of right now, it is working. So no complaints there. All right. Harroway means a lot to a lot of many different people, and that is simply fantastic. But often it's forgotten what it means to you. So that's the question. What does Harroway mean to you personally?
Harroway is my baby. I started this from the ground up, and it's my outlet for my aggression. It's my outlet for anything that's going wrong in my life, anything that's going good in my life. I get to create this art form and express myself through Harroway. Harroway's family, because the boys in the band are some of my best friends. I don't want to do this shit without them. Harroway is every single person who listens to it, every single person who comes to a show. Like Harroway is as much theirs as it is mine, and the rest of the boys. We're a community. We're a community of parasites, and it's 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 also just like my way of connecting with the rest of the world. I feel super isolated a lot of the time, and I get to connect with people through music and through touring and through shows, and it means a lot.
Say no more. Something fantastic. Cannot wait to see what the future holds for Harroway. Matt, I just want another minute or two of your time. This is Ozzy Osbourne, and in his head are randomized cards of anything and everything, including many band and artist submissions. I'm going to pull a few out, and if you don't mind answering them, whatever's on the back of them.
Cool.
All right, then we start with number 44. Who is someone that you cite as an inspiration? And this doesn't have to be just music. It can be anything, anything.
That's a hard one. I'll give a couple. Matt Heafy from Trivium inspired me to get into metal and start being into heavy music. I first heard Requiem from Ember to Inferno when I was like 12. And I was like, holy shit, this is the best fucking shit ever. Like the greatest song. And then Ascendancy, and that was it. It was over from there. I just knew metal and heavy music was going to be my life from that point forward. But a big driver in my music career and a big supporter in my music career was my granddad, who passed last year. And he was always, that's all he ever wanted to talk about, was just like, how's the band going? What's your plans for the show? Like, have you got tours lined up? Like, was just so invested in seeing us succeed. Has always been supportive of every music endeavor I ever took on, because he came from a music background himself, as like a promoter of like, RSLs and stuff, bringing live music to there. So he'd always try and help out wherever he could. And yeah, it's just, he was a massive driver. And then also just like pettiness. Like, seeing, like, trying to, like, prove people wrong and show them that I can succeed as a musician. You know, there's good with bad, good
Yeah.
influences, and then, like, you know, a bit of negative. Just a bit of spite. Who doesn't love spite to drive you?
I suspect some of the greatest works of art from any area of the world has often come from spite.
Yeah, I remember watching a podcast with uh the guitarist from Suicide Silence, and I can't remember who the other guy is, but he was like, "Yeah, I just hate people. That's that's where my music comes from. I just my hate for people." I was like, "Cool, man.
And
Whatever gets the
honest.
job done."
All right, then let's go to another one. What is a recent experience that made you feel old?
Everything. My back hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a new member, and he wasn't even alive for 9/11, and I
Oh
was like,
wow.
wow, wow, I'm so old.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Okay, then you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Who is your phone a friend?
Can you just say Google?
I
Google would
don't
know
think this
everything.
show. I haven't watched the show in a long time, but I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be allowed.
Um, ooh, probably my dad. My dad knows a lot of stuff, a lot of
Yeah,
random stuff too. So I'd probably just call my dad and be like, "Hey, what's the answer to this?"
safe bet,
He
right?
listens to all those. He listens to all those radio stations where they have basically the questions of who wants to be a millionaire on the radio, and they have people calling in to answer, and he knows all the answers to them. I'm like, why did you call in? You could win money. Uh,
Fantastic. Just picked up all the knowledge over years. All right, then. Two more for you. What is an overrated tourist attraction, in your opinion?
uh, Honestly, any building. Most
Okay,
buildings
yeah.
are overrated because it's like they're just they're just buildings. Yes, the architecture is like cool and stuff. At least the new ones. I imagine maybe some of the modern ones, the older ones in, say, like France and Europe and those kind of things. But like, I think the Sydney Opera House is a bit overrated. I think
Mm,
the Sydney Harbour Bridge is a bit overrated. New York is overrated. Not like just like concrete jungles.
yeah.
They're just, you know, I'd rather go to Norway and see the aurora. Like, it's like I much rather uh natural sites as opposed to like man-made ones.
Here. All right, one more then. You're at a party, and the party's beginning to die. People are flagging, and it's not vibing anymore. What song are you putting on to revive this party?
Oh, the Pedro song for sure.
Yeah, that's
Find
going to
it,
bring
find
up
it.
bring it to life.
Yeah, find a little projector thing and have that little what is it? It's like a raccoon or something, isn't it?
I think it's a raccoon,
It's
yeah.
like 100%. That song would get the place cranking.
I love it. I love it. Right, so yeah, that's we'll leave it there. Looking forward to seeing what comes next, to work on the upcoming EP and what your future holds over the rest of this year and into 2025. There is no doubt, based off how things have been, that it's going to be incredible to watch and pay attention to. And hopefully we see you over our way, the European way, at some point in the future. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for having me, man.
Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news, and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.